Hey Skyfares, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords channel and podcast. Well, today we're talking all about the FAQ and the Battlescroll and all the stuff that might affect Kharadron Overlords from that. Joining me for today's show, we have, as always, our Gunnery Sergeant and Thunderer from Down Under, Mr. Alexander Krohn.
Hey, good to be here.
And because the Alexander Krondspine Incarnate has gone up 80 points, we've downgraded our Endrin Master with dirigible suit, Mr. Max Bowman. He's not here, and we have an Endrin Master on foot in Endrin harness, Mr. Phil Zoshak. Welcome back, Phil.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to get some mortals on wound rolls today.
Yeah. And heal the ship.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and heal D3 to the ship.
Yeah, you're the more points efficient version.
Happy to stay in the garrison too.
Yeah, you can garrison, and you can use a command trait in Barrack Mornar.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, I'm just slightly better per points for Max.
Yeah.
It's just more efficient.
Yeah, but more points
efficient. More efficient.
Even though Max is German, you're more efficient. Okay, we've got the racism in early. Here we go. So normally we talk about the news now, but the news is basically the show. So other than the fact there's some chaosy stuff and ogres and stuff doing stuff, but no one cares about that.
Chaos coming out, ogres coming out. Chaos got an FAQ. All kinds of stuff's happening.
Yeah, ogres are shooty, but also they don't want to be shot. I don't know. That sort of stuff is happening.
Yeah, I don't know where ogres stand right now. I just know they look cool.
They've got some 40k level damage, D3 plus 3 damage on those
sounds
big
40k to me.
So
Yikes.
We're gonna just KOV ogres. We're just gonna play 40k. You know, we're just gonna go over there, gonna play 40k with the other guys.
They just have a gun line of iron blasters, and we just shoot them and be -1 to wound.
Their Vanguard box looks humongous in that photo I saw, like in comparison to like the other ones. So I'm wondering. I didn't see what's in it, but I assume it's just a bunch of like big stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's ogres. Everything's big, right?
Yeah. Fair.
Big dad bods everywhere. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's the news. Let's talk about stuff. So we had an FAQ, we had a battle scroll, and were the points changes for KO? Nope.
So our lists look exactly the same.
Yeah,
sort of.
Maybe.
Depends.
Because it wasn't pointless completely. Because, as I alluded to in the intro, the Krondspine Incarnate went up 80 points. So if you were running him, which a lot of people were in KO, you've just lost a hero or an endless spell. Basically. Were either of you guys using this?
I wasn't, but at a recent tournament, the top 3 that won all had Krondspine in it. And from what I was talking, there seemed a lot of doom and gloom about Krondspine going to be useless, but I think 80 points is actually light. And I'm just hearing people, well, we'll just cut one thing or we'll change around things and boom, still have Krondspine. So I don't think this was a huge change, actually. I still think we're going to see Krondspine on the table, which for KO is not a problem if you have navigators.
Yeah.
I've never been afraid of a Krondspine with my navigators.
Or just park some Arcanauts in front of it and shoot it off. And
earn that gold, Arcanauts.
Yeah.
They're just in a good position to be able to actually shoot that thing off the table instead of having to get stuck in for 2 whole turns of getting hit by it.
Yeah, and then it charges you, and then you unleash
hell.
Yeah, and then you're going to die in combat, but then that unit's done its job because they've removed him. So
never been afraid of it.
But yeah, I mean, he's gone up in points, but I think we're still seeing him in some KO lists as well.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what you fit in around it now.
My thing with Krondspine is because it's I guess universal. 480 points is like pretty reasonable for like a universal thing. And I don't know, like if you start playing with it too much, then it becomes like specific for certain armies. It's just tough. It's a tough thing to balance. I'm looking forward to seeing more incarnates. I think as we traverse the realms and see how they come up with that stuff. But I don't know. The Krondspine has been really just interesting to have like in the meta, and you know, at least anecdotally speaking, it's made a huge impact here in Seattle. Like I said, our Masters tournament top 3 list had Krondspine in it. I've seen that mostly throughout the tournaments here. So I don't know how it is with you all, but I mean, I think it's here to stay, and I think it's been really good so far.
I mean, it's so in a running a GT soon. Beforehand, like we were seeing Krondspines at about 40% of all lists in SA in Australia. This upcoming GT, looking at the lists, we don't have a single Krondspine Incarnate.
Do you think that's just
just vanished?
Do you think it's just initial reaction and they're slowly creep back in, or
it could be? Yeah, I still see I play Zinch a little bit, and I still see a spot in Zinch for this, but I think it's not, and it's still good. The 480 points, I think, is it's good for some of the less performing armies who need something like this, but 480 points is now too much for the top performing armies to just throw it in there and not care. 480 points, they need that to have their core list. Like Nurgle and Seraphon probably won't have the, and Daughters of Cain specifically had a list which was Morothy, the Krondspine, and 15 bow snakes.
Yep.
And you can't run that with 15 bow snakes, even if you take the cheapest stuff, it doesn't work anymore. They've just knocked it out of that top bracket, and you'll see it a lot more, I think, in bottom lists, and not so much in top lists anymore.
Yeah,
and I think that might be where we want Krondspine, is in these sort of middling lists that need that power boost. I think, you know, it was almost like the rich got richer in some cases with these really, really good top tier lists like Seraphon, Daughters of Cain. I'd be excited to see this in a lot of lists that have been hovering around the like 40 to 35% win rate, and see what happens.
Yeah. Because the trouble is you compare the Krondspine to things you could take in your army instead. And before, it's like, well, what could you get for 400 points in a KO army that you would be better than a Krondspine? Now you're kind of comparing it, well, 408 points, 490 points for an Ironclad, that sort of thing is a different conversation, and the same for all armies. But ultimately, it does things that a lot of armies don't have access to. A lot of armies, KO, don't have access to something that you can just put out there and it will definitely survive a turn. So
he's more comparable in points to Gotrek now. Gotrek at 485. Krondspine at 400 compared to Gotrek 4 at 485 was just insane. Like,
it was ridiculous.
It should be around the Gotrek level.
Yeah.
Because it is that tough.
Yeah.
It doesn't do as much damage, but it's a lot faster.
Yeah, faster.
He's much faster than Gotrek.
A lot.
And synergize as well with some armies.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like giving out +1 to hit and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
He's good in cities, and still cities and Zench can eat their endless spells to level up.
Yep.
It has a specific place. And in other armies, it'll just be a good thing that ties up your opponent while you maneuver your army around. I can still see him in Bone Splitters.
I know my brother uses them in Sylvaneth, and when the points went up, I asked him, like, are you guys still use Krondspine? He's like, yeah, I just changed like 1 or 2 things, and boom, I still have basically the exact same list, which was like, cool. You know.
Yeah, I guess there are some armies that having him in before was a nice to have, and there are others where it's like, well, it was essential. And that hasn't changed. The ones where it's nice to have, they just drop it. And the ones where it's essential is like, well, it's still essential, it's just costs more.
You just play around it.
Yeah. So
we'll
see.
I mean, I think like the Krondspine is just like a good example of like the whole Battlescroll. It's very fair. Like this whole Battlescroll, I think, was very fair and like came from a good spot. Like actually looked at like the impacts, the far-reaching impacts of certain points increases and rules, and just leveled things more. It's really good. I was really impressed with this.
It's also quite reserved because we sort of skipped past the fact there was no points changes for KO. But I think it is kind of related to the Krondspine because I think they are looking at the fact, well, we're making changes here, 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 and here. And, also this army, a lot of the people playing this army are using the Krondspine and we're putting that up in points. So we just won't touch any of their other stuff. And then we'll wait 3 months or 6 months and then we'll see the points changes. Because, like for KO, we're currently sitting on like 53% win rate, something like that, which is the top of like what they want, isn't it? They want 45 to 55. So we're like, I don't think there's any army below that 55 mark that's higher than us. And
yeah,
if you take the Krondspine away from us, it's like, do we drop? And if so, by how much? And because we know there's internal balance issues with KO. Yeah. Like Max is unfortunately Max is not here as we mentioned because he's off on his holidays. But he was very disappointed. He wanted to see changes for Thunderers, Enderriggers. Well, I don't think he
maybe the book's coming.
Yeah, I don't think he expected changes for Brock, but I think everyone would love changes for Brock.
I don't think you can points isn't what's the issue with Brock. Like, okay, make him 190. Now I choose between the Ender Master and Brock, and I still choose the Ender Master.
Isn't that sad when you think about it? Like, I don't even want you can have the 10 points. Like, I'll just take the nameless hero.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Brock's day is coming. I'm calling it now. Our new book's gonna make Gnar great, and we're gonna want Brock, and it's gonna be awesome. I have no evidence to back that up, but fill me up with that hopium.
It's just wishful thinking.
It is wishful thinking. I'm making Gnarless regardless. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I guess because KO, like, if you look at their data, we're not really a problem army, but we're definitely not below average army, but we're not a problem army yet. So they just wanted to keep it where it is. I think KO in a good spot competitively right now.
We'll talk about them in a minute.
I still love Thunderers. I'm not going to stop playing Thunderers.
I want to love Thunderers. I really do. I love the concept of like a just burly gun line, but
with all the special weapons and the chemist to back them up, like you can really come down, like clear a landing zone and then hold that landing zone. That is your objective. You're not moving. Yeah, like those Thunderers aren't going to head to any other objective.
Nope, they're sitting right there.
That is your objective. And they're two to hit. Man. They do so much damage.
And I mean, they've held their ground against like dragon ogres and like all sorts of like nasty things, and it's always fun to like watch them hold out too. Like you really root for them.
And then for your turn, you're like, all right, +1 shots. Here we go.
Here we go. Have the Ironclad to back them up with a last word, and suddenly, like whatever they were charging the Thunders into, they've made a grave error.
Yeah, I think Thunderers with special weapons on the ground still have a play. They're definitely not worth those points for 10 guys with rifles in a boat.
I agree.
On the ground with all the buffs up, I still pay 270 points for that.
Yeah, I for months I was trying to do 10 rifles in the boat and just convince myself that was good, and it wasn't. And then I went back to special weapons, and it was really fun in my Minar list where you could, like Alex, you were saying, just drop it on an objective and say deal with it. And most could, but yeah, that would have been nice.
The problem with the rifles is the 4 to wound.
Yeah,
because you can inspire them, but you can only do that once per game, maybe twice if you've got extra gold or whatever, or an extra
you really must spend the Aether gold.
Yeah, but you could just be spending that extra gold on your ship, which probably be better. So yeah, but I mean, to come back to the whole discussion about points, like, are you kind of happy that they haven't touched things, or are you disappointed, or?
I think we're fine.
Yeah.
I think we're in a great spot. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Oh no, that you go ahead. That's
Well,
fine.
I was just gonna say I think we're in a great spot. That's it.
Yeah,
we're fine.
Everyone's, yeah, because they seem to be like really trying to keep a cap on the power level of books, and like, so there's no big standouts, and like they seem to be drawing back a lot with these updates, and I think where KO is, which is we've got some good options but some giant glaring weaknesses, like, it balances out compared to the other books right now. I think that KO are probably in a spot that Games Workshop wants them to be at, I think.
Well, in terms of the internal balance, though, would you like to see some things be more viable and some things less auto-taken care?
The only thing I really want them to see changed, I guess, is I think the frigate just doesn't do it for me at all at the moment. Like, I can't see a spot for that anywhere.
I run too.
Well, a lot of people do, and there's been tournament winning lists using 2 frigates. So
yeah, I mean, in all, like, you see, like 90% of KO book is in some competitive list. Like, people use Sky Wardens and frigates and gun haulers and ironclads and all the foot guys. The only things you don't really see are ending riggers and Brock. But
yeah, I'm not a big fan of
like,
Sky Wardens. I wish they were more attractive as a battle line. For me, in tournaments, they've just died, and that was it. And I was like, well,
I've had good success with them in, like, as a kind of companion piece to a gun hauler, and just have that, like, a unit of 6 and the gun hauler just jumping around the edge of the board, shooting inwards. If they get touched, they evaporate, but they've got that long 24-inch range to just pop damage in and hopefully not get counter charged.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of points and stuff. Should we move on to all the other changes?
I have one more internal balance wish list, and that's NAR. I wish NAR is more viable. It's just not right now. And I've tried and tried and tried, and I just can't make a list that I say, you know what, I want to spend 2 days of my time on a weekend and play this.
I guess that's not really a points thing. It's the rules.
Their rules are just garbage because it's not 3rd edition. Like, their command ability thing is like once a game, and then they just go away. It's just bad. To
be fair, NAR wasn't even that good in second. It's always been like the worst one.
But it's their like faction focus. So I'm like, that's why I'm saying, like, new book, 3rd edition, give me a good NAR thing. Just make it gnarly, you know?
Yeah.
Hashtag make it gnarly.
No. Cool.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you don't actually, as internal balance wise, you only really see 2, maybe two sub factions, and then maybe no sub faction, custom Skyport.
Yep.
There's a lot of sub factions in that book that you just don't see, like NAR. And I don't know last time I've seen Zon. Even more NAR isn't, like, people talk about it a lot, but I don't think I've seen it.
No, yeah. Everyone talks about Mornar, said, oh yeah, Mornar's great. Do you play it? No, plays the Elfin.
Yeah.
Everyone likes the idea of Mornar, but then when they actually use it, they're like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing these battle scrolls every 3 months now, I guess. So, do you think we'll get some points changes in 3 months' time, in January or December? Or do you think we'll have to wait 6 months? Because I don't know how far in advance they plan these.
I think in 3 months we'll see some points changes with a winter update. Because remember, they're doing the GHBs on 6 months. So I assume we got our GHB in July, June. So we'll probably see one December, January.
If it is,
because then we'll get another one in March, won't we?
Well, we'll get an update in March. and then they'll do the GHB again in the summer. I think is what's gonna happen.
But we in theory the game will get points changes.
Yes,
in
correct.
January and in March. But do you think KO will? How long do you think KO will have to wait?
I don't know. I'm thinking the book might be coming soon, and they might be holding off on that stuff. I find that really interesting that we didn't get any point changes. Maybe because we're, like I said, in a good spot. But again, hopium on that new book. It's gonna be fun.
Well, it's interesting because if a new book is coming, then it's surprising they've made erratas and FAQs and stuff for KO. If they, if a new book is coming, it kind of signals that it's not in the next 3 months, at the very least.
Yeah.
Because if it was within the next 3 months, it'd be like, well, what's the point of doing the erratas and the FAQs? So it's all just could come out in the new book. So who knows? Although saying that, February would be 3 years since this book come out? Or was it? Is that right? Something like that. 3 or
sounds right.
Maybe 4. I don't know. But it was definitely February, like end of January, beginning of February, wasn't it? So we shall see. Okay, let's talk about some of these other changes. So there's loads of stuff to do. Garrisoning. Does a garrison unit count as being on the battlefield for the purpose of battle tactics and grand strategies? And that is yes. It's interesting.
This stuff had already been covered, especially the command point. Like, I know that was a question before, and I think that got answered by an FAQ.
I don't think there ever was an FAQ, an official answer on it. It was always one of those ones that you kind of had to discuss with an opponent.
Yeah, that's how I've always felt. I've gotten challenged on it a few times, and I had no nonsense for that. It was like, no, like we're not playing this. Let me get a TO.
I mean, it was like, because the rule literally says you remove them from the battlefield, but then it says you can do everything as if you were on the battlefield.
Right.
Like, which one is it? Like,
I mean, if my guy doesn't count as being on the battlefield for the purposes of getting command points, then I guess he's not on the battlefield for targeting either.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this is that they actually say for the purposes of battle tactics and grand strategies. They didn't just leave it as, do they count as being on the battlefield? Like, they haven't just, like, they've done it less open-ended. Seems, which I don't know why, but I don't know. It's probably just because there's so many battle tactics. Like, pick a unit on the battlefield. Or, that sort of thing.
And you'll notice the same people that complained about this never complained when they had an AoE spell and started rolling dice for every single thing in your ironclad. Then they're definitely on the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. So then the next, and these are all pretty similar. The next one is like, can a garrison unit be picked as the target of an ability that requires you to pick a unit that's on the battlefield? And the answer is yes, and that was how everyone was playing it, so that's fine. Not that Bastion is going to pick a unit inside the ship. He's going to pick the ship.
Usually pick the ship, yeah.
Because
roll those 18 dice.
Yeah, roll 18 dice. So there's nothing really interesting about that. And then, does a garrison general count as being on the battlefield for the purposes of generating a command point, which we sort of already just discussed? And the answer is yes. So basically, they're on the battlefield. It's what they've answered 3 questions to say, they are on the battlefield. Which is nice to have some clarification on. So that's cool. And then, because that had some ramifications, they made other changes to garrisoning. Because they've errated both the frigate and the ironclad. So it says, instead of it saying at the last sentence to say that you do not count towards the number of models when gaining control of an objective, it now says you cannot contest objectives while you're garrisoned. And the reason for that was before there are certain battle tactics that said, if there's a unit like a certain unit contesting it, then you can get the points or whatever. And it was, they don't count to the number of models, but do they count as contesting it? And the reason you couldn't do it before was because you maybe couldn't do it before was because it said a unit on the battlefield that's contesting the objective. Now we know on the battlefield. We know they are on the battlefield, but they've errated it here so you still can't do it. So they changed.
Although, interestingly, you know what they haven't errated? The gun hauler.
Because you don't need to, because when the gun hauler has stuff in the ship, it uses the ironclads rule.
Oh, bummer.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang, there was the loophole.
We nearly got it. That
Yeah.
is like peak fantasy KO when you're arguing rules like that to your opponent.
Well, the FAQ said the ironclad of the frigate, but it didn't say the gun haulers.
So the bottom line is with this, combined with the other thing, is they answered some questions, then they changed some things to make it all work the way it worked before, basically. But now we're absolutely 100% sure that's how it works, and you don't have to talk to your opponent about it before game. And then last but not least, if you are unfortunate enough to play Battle Lines Drawn,
I hate that map.
This question says, can you remove a unit from the battlefield in order to enter a garrison and then in brackets and set it up again when you leave the garrison? The answer is yes, which completely contradicts what it actually says in the rules, the same as actually technically some of those other ones. They have a tendency to like doing that actually with FAQs. It's actually contradict what the rules say, which we will see again in a minute. But that is a good thing.
Battle Lines Drawn is a trash mission and isn't going to be in any good tournament pack. Any self-respecting tournament.
Yes, I've played it in the tournament once, and it's because we had a new TO who just picked things at random and said, have fun. And I was like, well, I am not allowed to have fun on this mission, but everyone else can.
No. Yeah. My last tournament had it first mission, and it was just like, it was awful. But
shame.
At least...
I kind of like the table quarters as objectives. Of the mission. It just comes with you can't teleport.
No, you can't actually use you don't get to play your army.
Yeah.
Your Nighthaunt, your KO, like the whole thing that your army is just.
Yeah. Someone else had the bridge and a load of Iron Drakes, and they're like, well, I'm not doing that.
It's like, well, my whole list is built around teleporting this unit over, and now good game.
Yeah.
My worry is with this is that now there's an FAQ for Battle Lines Drawn. Like there might be some TAs that go, there are fixed Battle Lines Drawn. Let's put it in packs again.
No,
don't do that.
Please don't.
It's still bad.
If I see that, if I see that in a tournament, I might quit the tournament, but I will definitely not be playing KO. I will be playing some other army that I don't even have yet. But
I don't even know what I'd play.
Yeah.
I would Fire Slayers. I would just do Fire Slayers and just march up the field and say deal.
Yeah.
Got all my magma draws.
So that's kind of everything to do with garrisoning. Then there was some stuff that this is actually from the core rules FAQ, but it affects a navigator. So if you have a hero that's not a wizard and you have the ability to unbind spells, i.e. a navigator, if you do heroic willpower to basically get an unbind, can they do an additional unbind? And the answer is no. You got a double unbind with an navigator now if you use heroic willpower.
Nerf hammer.
So a minor nerf to your navigators. And then if a hero that is not a wizard but has the ability to unbind spells is given arcane tome, can they unbind an additional spell? And the answer again is no. So you can't get your navigator up to 3 unbinds per turn anymore.
Seems fair.
Yeah. So I mean, is what it is. It's a very, very minor nerf that I don't know. People probably won't do that a lot of the time anyway.
I saw a ton of people using the Rune Lord for it as like a cheeky 90-point thing.
Yeah, the Rune Lord.
It makes sense to cut it. Let the Rune Lords for actual dwarf players.
Yeah. Well, it's just annoying because the way it works for a wizard is if you use, or can you use heroic willpower with a wizard? I can't remember. I don't know.
I don't remember because I don't play with magic. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in magic.
Yeah. The chat is saying, it's because of the Rune Lord. So, it's obviously because of the Rune Lord because they even mention, e.g., a Rune Lord.
Yeah. Rune Lord was the problem, not the navigator. Which does remind me, I do want to get to Coffee Frog's question about Thring eventually, but let's not mess up the flow.
Yeah,
we hear you, Coffee Frog. I can't wait to talk to you about Thring.
We'll circle back to that at the end, I think, when we wrap up. And then they also, in the KO FAQ, answered a question about Unleash Hell, which is it's nice they answered the question, but it's also not nice. So, if an enemy Kharadron Overlords sky vessel with a unit garrisoned in it finishes a charge move within 3 inches of a friendly unit, and there are no other enemy units within 3 inches of that friendly unit, could that friendly unit still receive the Unleash Hell command to shoot at the charging sky vessel? And then in brackets, or the garrisoned unit. Now, the reason they asked this is because there was debate before, as technically as you end a charge, then there's 2 units within 3 inches. Therefore, technically, you could argue that they couldn't unleash hell. And rules as written, actually, technically, they shouldn't be able to unleash hell. But as we mentioned previously in the show, I had TOs ruled against it because it's obviously unintended to work that way. It's just because unleash hell is written badly.
Yeah.
And so, but they've answered this yes. So to say that they can unleash hell. So they, again, another example where they've probably given the correct answer, but they shouldn't have done it this way. They should have just done an errata to unleash hell, really, because they've actually technically answered it incorrectly. But it's kind of how we expected it probably should have worked. So,
yep.
However, or the garrisoned unit. Now, the garrisoned unit hasn't charged. So this is actually a big change, because now if you charge with your ship, they can shoot the heroes or the units inside the ship, which they definitely couldn't do before. And no one was thinking that they could do that before.
Oh, I've had people shoot my chemist off in a Unleash Hell or things like that. And I was just like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, because they don't count as having charged.
Right.
So if, say, you had shock gauntlets, you don't, and you charge, and you've got an Endrin Master and there are shock gauntlets, he doesn't get the bonus. Or if you're charging Zon, you don't get all the bonus for the guys inside the ship because they haven't charged. So they shouldn't really, in theory, be able to be shot.
I think they're just trying to make it fair here. I don't really see a huge issue with that, because usually when my Ironclad's barreling down something, they shoot the ship because they're so concerned about the ship coming in. But yeah.
So, I mean, this is basically another minor nerf. So, yeah. It's a little bit annoying.
I did scare an opponent once with this. He's a good friend of mine, and so I knew I could mess with him a bit. So I charged my Ironclad in, and he's like, I unleash hell. I'm like, actually, you can't, because I was like quoting this rule out to him. And I was just messing with him, though. It was fun to see him sweat and try to talk himself like into why he could. Yeah. But then I was like, dude, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. This was like another like KO players, trying to find interpretations of the code.
I was living the fantasy for sure.
Yeah.
It's very narrative of KO players to to use every letter of the code.
What we do.
Exactly.
I mean, this kind of makes sense. The fact that they can shoot the garrisoned unit kind of makes sense narratively. Like, oh, there's a big ship coming towards you with heroes on it. Yeah, of course you would be able to shoot the heroes. The point is they've moved closer to you, and we're like the only army that can get units into combat without actually charging in the charge phase. Other people can do it in the combat phase or whatever. But so yeah, basically another very not very minor nerf. Just minor. It depends how you were playing it, really. I always played it that they could unleash hell anyway.
Yep.
So if you were playing it, they couldn't. Then you'll probably be annoyed about this. So, but yeah, and I don't think anyone was playing it that they could shoot. Obviously, I say that, but you actually, I was about to say no one was playing it that you could shoot the guys inside the ship, but actually, Phil, you've already proved me wrong on that one. So.
They're like, I'll kill your chemist. I was like, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Garrison rules still apply.
Yeah. Okay. So that's that. And then they also answered a question about Collector. And this one
finally FAQ'd this.
Well, yeah, but I'm also not because of the way they've done it.
Oh, okay.
So, Kron, I think you probably know what I'm alluding to here because you've had discussions with people about this.
We've had a few.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this should be explained again because we just talked about this on our last show.
We've talked about this on multiple shows, but
we've talked about this every other show.
It's the only thing in KO that matters,
Well,
it's what we talk about.
Now we will have to talk about it in a slightly different way, Kron.
I know.
Because the question will be different.
People have now flipped to the other side.
Yes. So the reason let's give this some context first. The reason the question was asked was because people were trying to take a chemist in Zilfin and then some other random hero and not have any other way of getting an extra artifact and then be like have like the 1-drop battalion, and then they were using Collector and then saying, well, I'm going to give the staff rocklet optimization to this other hero, and then because I've got Collector I can give it to the spell in a bottle to the chemist. And there was like the answers, no, you can't do that because the way Collector is written is you have to give the artifact to the chemist in order to generate getting the second artifact. And so the question is, the Collector command trait allows an additional hero to have an artifact if the general has an artifact. If the sub-faction requires the first artifact received to be the one specified in that sub-faction's abilities, could I give the additional artifact from Collector to my general and the sub-faction artifact to another hero? And the answer is no, which is correct some of the time. Because this is where the problem is. Now people are saying, well, what if I have Command Entourage or Warlord? Does this flat out mean that I can't give it? And if you applied this just purely how they've written it and answered this question, it technically does say that, but you're completely ignoring the whole context of the fact that what was causing confusion before, what the rule actually says, and all of that. So hopefully TOs won't start saying, no, you can never get the general.
I would be really confused if a TO ruled like that.
Yeah.
It would just show like they don't know the game. Like,
well, they haven't read the actual rule.
Because
FAQs shouldn't actually change what a rule does. They should just clear up any confusion.
Clarify. Yeah.
Yes. If they want to change what a rule does, they should do an errata. And this is where it's all why people get annoyed about this sort of thing. But if we come to the next screen, which luckily I was able to copy and paste from previous shows, this is what the rule actually says. So it says, if you choose the general to have an artifact power, you can choose one extra friendly hero to have an artifact power. So in theory, if you've got Command Entourage, you've already got 2 artifacts to give with. So to give the first one will have to be Staff of Ocular Optimization in Zilfin. Doesn't say it has to be given to the general in Zilfin. It just says the first one has to be the staff. So you just give that to any random hero, then you give your second artifact to the general, and then that triggers getting a third.
Yep.
That's how it works, and I don't think the FAQ should change that. I think they just didn't want to write it in this complicated way where it says, well, if you have these, but if you don't have any battalions, but if you have these battalions, it works differently, and have a very long-winded answer. They like giving an answer as a yes or a no, don't they?
Yeah, they like formatting the questions in such a way that they can go yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which it kind of gets through the complexity, unfortunately, of this question. It's KO is still the only army in the game, I think, where you need sequencing in the list building phase of the game.
Yeah. Although, it's I don't know if it's still a thing, but it was a thing with Mega Gargants that people were arguing for endless spells before. But I don't know. Phil, you were going to say something about this a minute ago, and I just talked over you. Sorry.
Whoop! I can't remember. Oh, okay. I do now. I guess for the admirals listening, like I wouldn't worry about this too much. Like if you show your process and say I have the command entourage, this is how it works. There's no honest player that would challenge you on this, and if they are, they're probably dicks.
Yeah. They might not realise why the FAQ is there. So if you explain to them, well, the reason the FAQ is there is because people thought they could do this,
right?
And that stopped this FAQ is to stop them thinking them doing this, not what I'm doing. Then they'll realise,
yeah, it's to prevent what I did in a December tournament and nearly did in my other GT, where I took, spell collector, and it's, it's an easy mistake to make when you're first starting out with this army. So I'm glad to see the clarification, and I really hope people don't go down the rabbit hole and try to like block other stuff with it, because it's not worth it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think they will. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Okay, what next? Battle tactics, which comes full back circle to garrisoning. So we mentioned earlier that they confirmed that if you're in a garrison, you are on the battlefield. Now, the way the battle tactics used to work is they said, there's two different ones, obviously. So one of them would say, pick a unit on the battlefield and make sure they're garrisoned at the end. So you're okay, well, I'll pick this unit already in the garrison because they're on the battlefield, and then I don't have to do anything. Because, and then the other one was, I'll just pick a unit not on the battlefield, not in a ship, and then make sure that, I don't know, I can't remember. It's basically, they fixed one of them and errated it because of the answers they gave to the questions earlier, but they haven't fixed the other one.
They haven't fixed the other one where you could just pick 3 heroes in boats and then go, oh look, they're still on a boat. So
yeah, basically. Yeah. So because they've changed one, they changed one. So they changed the one where you had to get them out of the boat, which basically means you can't pick guys that aren't out of the boat already. But they haven't changed the one where you had to get them into the boat in theory. So I think this one's awkward then, because like for instance, Stephen, sorry, I'm not sure how you choose to pronounce that, but he says the same thing that he said about the charging and Unleash Hell is, but we all know how the battle tactics were intended, which we kind of do, and I always chastise Max for trying to play it the rules as written Ray before. I was like, well, it's obviously not what they intended to have 2 battle tactics where you didn't have to do anything. However, the fact they've errated one and not the other does kind of imply that maybe they want the other one to be easy.
Yeah.
And you think, well, why would you have one?
It wouldn't be the only one that's the only battle tactic in the game that is that easy.
Right.
Like there are plenty of very easy battle tactics out there.
Yeah. And there is an opportunity cost. Because
Harpies just going,
You went, your audio went out then, Con. It stopped at
Oh.
Yeah. So, yes.
Yeah.
So now we're at this awkward point of, did they...
Harpies just moving.
Yeah.
We're at this awkward... we're at this awkward point now. It's like, did they just forget to errata one of them? Or is it intentional? Nobody knows. How do you know whether they forgot something or whether they chose to change one and not the other?
My guess is they went down the rabbit hole of changing garrison and sky vessels, and then they started checking boxes.
Yeah.
And because mobilize the fleet is just like have 3 in a boat, because it specifically says, I think it says, does it say garrison or sky vessel on that rule?
I think it says, I can't remember.
Here, I can literally look it up with the power of my phone.
Yeah, but they both. But anyway, both battle tactics have the exact same wording, are on the exact same page in the exact same book, and that they only changed one of them. It doesn't make any sense. So, who knows? I mean, there is an argument. There's an opportunity cost with the one where you basically don't get them out of the ship or keep them in the ship. Is it meant because you can't do it turn 1, and then it's like, well, in later turns you want to be getting them out of the ship to get onto objectives, but you have to keep them in the ship, so there is an opportunity cost there. Who knows? Or they just forgot. I don't know. It might be that you go to a tournament and they don't allow faction battle tactics anyway.
Yeah.
So
Is that
that's
common in tournaments over with you guys? Because
Not at
I
all.
don't think any of our tournaments have had said like no battle tome battle tactics. Like I've heard people say it on the internet, but I've never had actually experienced
We've
it.
never
Yeah.
experienced it.
It is exactly that, Con. You hear people saying it on the internet that it should happen, but no one actually does it.
And it's never like negatively impacted the game for me.
Mm.
If someone says, "Hey, I have a book tactic," and they explain how it works, I'm like, "Great!" Like, okay, like we'll just keep playing the game. Like, I don't know, I'm okay with book and like grand strat stuff. Like, I think it adds to the game. I think it gives you some flavor. Not all of them are great. Some of them are like mobilize the fleet, where you're like, give me my free points, thank you so much. But
it's like,
I think it's okay.
It's like against the odds, where it's like that's like a generic that's a generic battle tactic, and that's just
it's basically a gimme.
Have an objective.
Yeah.
Do you hold an objective? Yes.
Yep.
Cool. Battle tactic done.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows? But no, I personally lean towards allowing faction battle tactics and grand strategies, because I don't see any difference between having, some armies have easier ones than other ones. I don't see any inherent difference to that, to the fact that Mega Gargants count as loads of models and objectives, or some armies have basically hordes and therefore are better at the objective game, or some armies are just better at killing things than others.
Yep.
Everything has strengths and weaknesses. So, and it does, just leads to different ways of playing the game. Maybe some people don't like it because it doesn't feel fun, but that's more of an implementation issue rather than the fact that you should just not have them at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've lost the Night Haunt, grand strategy nonsense where I wiped, literally wiped them off the table and still counted or something. It happens. It's part of Warhammer. I don't know. I'd try to have fun in the game regardless.
So that is literally all the changes that I spotted that really affect KO in a very obvious way. Anything else is kind of going to be in a very rare circumstance. So overall, I think we're probably in a less powerful place now, but in a better place in the fact that we have more certainty over how rules work. The only thing we have
fairer place.
Pardon, Kron? I didn't.
Probably a fairer place.
Yeah, it's fair. All of this is fair. None of this makes me like want to stop playing KO at all. It's so these are all very minor changes.
Yeah,
and double clad Zilfin is still very good.
Yeah,
I still remember the horrors of the old the old FAQs where they just said, "Yeah, this thing you had KO, you don't have it anymore."
No, not allowed.
Like,
yeah.
You know how we like wrote a Tactica in the battle tome about giving your navigators 3d6 unbind? Forget about it.
Yeah.
Removing the rule.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a sequence of just, you don't get this, you don't get this, you don't get this. Here it's just, it's literal clarifications of how rules should probably have worked anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So the only thing we don't have any clarity on now, other than the fact that hitching technically doesn't work, but they're never going to fix that because they don't care. Because because nobody cares and everyone just plays it how it should work. So the only thing is mobilize the feet now. I don't think there's anything else that's a bit sort of wishy-washy.
I'm great with mobilize the fleet just being as is, and if they ever want to change it, fine.
I mean, I was always playing it that you had to literally have guys not in the boat and get them in the boat. So if my opponent wants me to play that way, yes, okay, there's no change. It's in this, if we take it, well, they've errated this one, we're not errated that one, so I can have it as a gimme, then great. But We'll see. So, God, we've gone through this very quick.
Yeah.
It's almost like when maybe Max does all the talking normally. I don't know. I think we sort of answered the question already. But...
I would love to talk about Thring for a second because Coffee Frog had that. So,
well, I was
go
about to segue to that sort of, because I think we've already answered the question about how we generally feel about KO and how this affects KO, which is not that much.
No,
really.
I'm not worried.
So maybe we can get a bit more granular with it and get into some specifics about Skyports and lists, and because we've only really been on less than an hour, so maybe we'll start with Thring. How do you feel about Thring since these changes?
So last time I played Thring was back in May, and I loved my list. It was, something that when it was parsed by people like in Seattle, they're like, I don't even know what to make of this list. Like, and that's the kind of player I like to be. Thring's still really good. Like Volley Cannon on Ironclad, and then Honor the Gods just in case is really good. Having Fire Slayers to give you a little bit of extra punch, like super great. I loved my block of Hearthguard Berserkers and my Runefather. They could sit on an objective, and then suddenly a army that struggles with objective control had some really reliable objective control, because I also paired that with Gotrek. So Gotrek would sit on one objective, my Fire Slayers would sit on another objective, and suddenly I have exactly what I wanted per round, which is hold 1, hold 2. Mm-hmm. And if I could bully the rest of their army off of things, then suddenly I could even hold more and complete my battle tactics, which I didn't drop a single battle tactic that tournament. I don't know. I think Thring super fun to play, and I really encourage to get out there and play Thring.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got reroll 1s, which is always going to be good.
Oh yeah, and that.
Yeah,
that really good thing.
Yeah, and the once per game exploding hits, and the fact that
I got so excited about exploding hits, I forgot about the actual reason you take Thring.
Well, you want to use the exploding hits and the reroll 1s at the same time.
Yeah,
so you get more exploding hits
on the 3 scariest things in your opponent's army. And it's not like, oh, D3 this or that. Like, no, you pick 3 things and say you're in trouble.
Yeah,
we got grudges.
There weren't really any changes. Sorry, God. I was going to say there weren't really any changes for Fire Slayers massively in terms of points or anything or for any other any Dwarden units you might bring in from 6 to Sigmar. So for Thring, it's not really changed much, has it?
Not at all. I mean, if you wanted your Rune Lord in there for the extra unbind, then I'm sorry to tell you that it's just okay now, and I would not take it in Thring. Unless you have I don't know, a unit of hammers or something to back it up when the Rune Priest is actually good to have. Mm-hmm. But I mean, no, I mean, just bring Fire Slayers and maybe even Gotrek and have a ball with Thring.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can have him and have some Iron Drakes and give them extra rend. And but yeah. Kron, what were you going to say?
Just Thring is still super solid. The only difference is it's not as insanely mobile as Zilfin, but it trades that out for just more offensive power.
Yep.
And for combat, you take the Ritual Suit Endlmaster in Thring with the Fight on Death on 2+, run him into something, do his attacks, die, come back, do it again. He'll kill something.
Yep.
Do you think that when 3.0 come out, because at the end of 2.0, people were loving Thring. We had Marcus Fredrickson come on, and he played Thring at AOS Worlds, and he'd done really well. And we'd have there was a lot of love for Thring at that time. And then 3.0 come out, and obviously there was problems with garrisoning. They were like, "Oh, you only had to get out of the boat at the end of the phase and stuff." And do you think that is why a lot of people switched to Zilfin, because you could guarantee sort of move a ship somewhere, get guys out? And that's why people moved away from Thring and Mornar and stuff. And do you think with all these changes to garrisoning, people will sort of go back to actually, what the other Skyports could be quite good? And the previous change to garrisoning, we can get out and then move.
Zilfin has always just been the kind of default choice for a lot of people. It's the one that is the easiest to understand, I guess. It's just take boat, put it forward, dump everyone out. And like in 2.0, like you had that Zilfin Alpha smash with just you put everything into that boat, you clown card, dump forward, and just try to alpha the opponent.
Yep.
I think the change was that with save stacking, that stopped being so effective. So you could still do the same stuff as you did back in 2.0, but now your opponent could like Mystic Shield, All Out Defense, and Finest Day, and suddenly all your Rend 1 Alpha Strike kind of bounced off of them. So people were forced to kind of, all right, well, if turn 1 end of the game doesn't work, what else can I do? What can I do to keep this game going for longer and do more damage over an extended period of time? And that's what Thring's good at, because it doesn't incentivize you to try that. Thing is like, all right, stay back and just pepper those 3 units. Circle the wagon, stay out of range, pepper the units, and it's good for that.
Just blat. Yep.
Don't throw all your eggs in one basket, which is what Zilfin wants you to do.
Mentioning Zilfin actually just reminded me there's one other thing we still don't have clarity on, which is whether you can hitch in the hero phase with Zilfin.
Oh, yeah. I've been playing, you can.
Well,
I don't know if that's right.
Well, who knows? Because you used to be able to, and there used to be an FAQ saying you could, and they removed it. And then they added other FAQs saying you can't do something instead of something if you can't do the thing originally, which kind of implies you can't. So that and Mobilize the Fleet are the only things I can think of that are really potentially important that are outstanding. Because actually, if you can hitch in the hero phase, riggers get a lot better. Because you hitch and then move in 12 and then charge into something with -2 rend, and they won't do a huge amount, but they take out small things and important things, grab objectives, and be pretty good. Guaranteed charge on something, basically. As long as you don't roll double ones.
Use it to get those Ender riggers in, get a squad of six Ender riggers with swords and pistols. Run forward, shoot them, charge them.
And then you put Brock in,
Yeah.
We figured it out.
Oh, the real power
we got Brock.
Yeah.
And then you get Drekkie in there to steal artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's your Drekkie list, Stephen.
Yeah,
it
I was
is,
going to say.
An alpha.
We do want to make a show about the dumb little combos you can do in the book that might have been overlooked.
That's the thing I should have done when I was on a flight and bored. Was thinking of all those combos.
So my big thing is, what if you didn't use the Zilfin move on a boat, but you used it on a squad of 9 Ender riggers?
Well, that is
jump them up 24 inches.
There used to be a thing. I can't remember if it was in 2.0 or there was a point where I worked out and you could do it with them. And with the different buffs and things, you could get them to do 26 damage in a turn on average. Or they could,
you can 24-inch jump. If you wait till turn 2, you 24-inch jump over their screens, hit their biggest, most important thing with 9 Ender riggers, and just smash it.
Smash into them. I like it. What does the rule say for where there's a wind?
Pick any one unit in your army. And then make a normal move with it. It can fly high. It's saying hey, you should move your boat though.
Yeah.
You should move, but you don't have to move the boat. You could move your Ender riggers.
You could move Arcanals. I can't remember. I'd have to double check. There used to be that you could run with in the hero phase, but I don't think you can anymore. Where's my phone? Probably check this rather than just say I can't remember.
Unfortunately, the rules for charging say you can't have run at any point in that turn.
Oh, no, it wasn't about whether you could charge. It was whether you could actually just run in the hero phase. Or whether you could use... Well, you can probably run, but whether you can use the command ability to make it a 6.
Well, in Zilfin, it's auto-run 6.
No, because that's only in the movement phase.
Oh, bummer.
Oh.
And I can't remember... Oh, it's on Zilfin already.
Anyway, I'm looking that up.
Yeah, well, it says it can run, so you can definitely run. Whether the auto run 6 is where is that?
In your movement phase.
Yes,
Bummer.
but can you use the command ability outside of the movement phase?
Oh, well,
another
are
thing you
you
could
saying the normal run?
Yeah, you can do a normal run for sure. I don't think you can use command ability outside.
I don't think so because the command ability is specifically in the movement phase.
Yeah.
I think they even set it up in the rulebook as such.
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can use the following command abilities in the movement phase. Yeah, so you can't. But you can. Yeah, so you can move Arcanauts 5 inches at minimum in the hero phase, and then another 10 inches. And if they're an expert conquerors, that's still not as good as doing the slingshot. Which I should probably not explain. So anyone that doesn't know what the slingshot is where you get them out of the ship before the ship moves. So you get them out 7 inches and then you move them afterwards, and they basically move 7 inches plus 4 or 10, depending on whether you run them.
And it's 7 inches because the rule says within 6 inches, not wholly within,
Yes.
model by model basis. So you put your front Arcanaut, like have the very sliver of the end of his base just sitting on that 6 inches, and then you run 10 inches. So you basically get 17-inch move from your boat. Like you just
That's sick.
Yeah, which with expert
jump out,
conquerors as
make
well.
do a roll.
So you're just like, oh, these 30 models are now on this objective, 17 inches away.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've used that to just bomb chemists and admirals out of things. People think they're safe, and then suddenly there's this one guy just
yeah, melee KO.
I mean, look, you can have 7 guys hitch on a boat, right, with Zilfin. Zilfin. What if you took Brock and 5 dirigible suit Enderon Masters, and then moved them 12, and then punch someone with that?
Well, for that you need to know whether you can actually hitch in the hero phase is the problem, which we don't have a full answer on.
Yeah, we need a new book, honestly.
Yep.
I'm sad about this because I love this book, but it's becoming very much a love-hate relationship because
there's so many poorly written rules in it.
Yep. But it's not OBR bad.
The thing is they did so much well in this book. Like they gave the book a lot of depth. There was a brief, I say a brief, but there was a fairly decent amount of time where every skyport was playable and good, and nearly every unit was usable, other than Brock.
2.0, remember? Zon. Remember when people actually used Zon like competitively and actually did like Skywarden charges out of boats?
Like, and there were so many different viable artifacts and command traits, and like especially when you compare it to other books where everyone's just using the same thing all the time. Like the book is great in that regards, but when it comes to the actual quality of the rules writing, it needs a second pass, basically.
Yeah.
I think one reason for like the longevity of this show even was the fact that there wasn't really the KO build that everyone ran.
Well, I mean,
everything was slightly different. Yeah, but people actually made you saw in even in competitive lists that people made a real effort to not Zilfin.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for me. I was just basic, but you know.
I tried all of them. I painted with all the colors of the wind.
What a difference from the old book. Like going from the old book, where it's like, okay, you don't take any of the boats, you take none of the boats, you only take Arcanauts. To like use like 90% of this stuff.
Although even in the first book, there was a point where it was just like Zilfin, loads of Endermingers.
Yeah.
Until they nerf stuff, because you just send in wave after wave of Endermingers with +1 attack.
Yeah.
Which is really. Okay, we went on a bit of a tangent. So what we were talking about lists.
Yeah, we're talking about skyports and things like that.
Lists and skyports and stuff since the FAQ. Zilfin is still good.
I was gonna say, what's our if there is one list right now that you would say that's the list you go for? It's double clad Zilfin, right?
I don't know, because actually, if you look at what's won tournaments, there is the five ship list.
Boat list, really.
Yeah, the
five boat list.
Yeah,
I know and love.
So I mean that could be run in either custom Skyport or Zilfin, or potentially other Skyports as well. So there's kind of two lists. That's what I say to people. There's kind of two ways of playing KO at the moment. You play the 5 boat list, and you play keep away.
The 3 boat list.
You play very cagey.
Yeah, or you play double ironclad, and you still have
play cagey.
You still play cagey, but
yeah,
you do it with less boats.
I've yet to play with 2 clads, but every time I finish the shooting on my first clad, I'm like, wow, that's good. Boy, do I want another one. And eventually I will be painting up another ironclad and testing it out. But I like the 5 boat list.
So nice.
I think the real question
feels very fluffy, but
it's very fluffy.
I found a way to make, with some of the updates to endless spells and admirals, I found a way, I think, to make the old 2.0 list work again, and I've been having a lot of success with it.
The old 2.0 list, what exactly do you mean?
Take a boat, dump 20 Thunderers into opponent, win game.
The deploy and destroy.
Deploy and destroy. Thunder from down under a list.
Yeah, okay. Okay, talk us through this then, Kron. What is it?
It's just Admirals giving +1 rend and Purple Sun giving.
How many are you using? 2 ironclads, or are you using 1 with buoyancy aid?
1 ironclad buoyancy aid.
Yeah. With
the 20 Thunderers, 2 Admirals, 2 Chemists, and then a little gun hauler to back it up.
Okay.
And you deploy 20 Thunderers.
Does that leave you any room?
Rend 2.
Does it leave you any room for Sky Wardens?
No Sky Wardens.
Okay, so you can't.
Just have your 30
Sky Wardens with the gun hauler type thing.
No, the gun hauler's mostly just there to put even more fire. It's literally the deploy, wipe them out. You got a Purple Sun, you got 20 Thunderers all on rend 2, and you just shoot them, and they just disappear. And that's been working for me against quite a lot of things.
How many points is it now? Well, it should be the same, but how many points is it? Save me doing the maths.
Like, what points? The
list.
Oh,
the list you're talking about.
You know points in Warhammer.
I mean, I could work it out. I just thought you would know off the top of your head.
I got it on my.
Do you get a good chances of triumph? Is what I want to know. Or is it like 2000 or like 1995 or something?
It's 1975.
Okay.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's a good chance.
Yeah, it's a decent chance. Okay.
1930 if you take if you replace one of the admirals with Dreki Flint, which is always fun.
Okay. But no navigators.
No there's no tricks. There's no half move because hopefully they won't have anything to half move by the end of your turn.
They'll be dead.
Anyway.
Yeah, I have made that mistake in the past. I'd be like, I'm going to half move that thing. And then I fly over and shoot that thing. And I'm like, oh, it's dead.
And you're like,
why did I half move that?
It's just because everything's at rend 3. Like they don't get saves.
Mm-hmm. Stefan or Stephen. Stefan, you need to let us know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's Stefan, but I don't know. It could be Stephen. Yeah, better if you could have.
It was better. It was better when we had one big squad of 20 Thunderers.
Yes. Okay, I think with at the moment, if you're playing Zilfin in double clad, the real question is, are you taking allies, and if so, what? Because there used to be about 425 point gap in your list, depending what you had, which you could fit a nice little Krondspine into. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Yes. So, do you take dragons? Do you take Celestin Prime, or do you take something from KO?
I still like Celestin Prime. Prime's good.
Good. If you have an admiral, 2 navigators,
I don't know. I want a list build.
30 Arcanauts, and 2 Ironclads, you're at 1545. So you've got 455 points to play with.
I mean, what I put into that list was the Gunhauler and 6 Sky Wardens.
Yep.
Like that worked really well for me, just with the 2 clads, because now you've got 3 teleporting threats that just kind of sit on the corners of the board and just shoot inwards.
You've got points left over, Con, after that.
You put in a Warp Lightning Vortex in. Come on.
Yeah, we gotta have the.
But then you'd have to take
our endless spell.
Yeah. I didn't actually check. How many points is the Warp Lightning Vortex now?
80.
It hasn't changed. It didn't change in the FAQ. No, because it was all on the Battlescroll, wasn't it? And it was cogs, and they ported over the Purple Sun change before.
Yeah, but Skaven, no KO model got a points change, including the Warp Lightning Vortex, which is a KO model.
Yes, basically. Yeah, so you could swap a Navigator for a Chemist, take the Battalion to get an extra artifact, and have the Warp Lightning Vortex, because you wouldn't be able to afford the Purple Sun with that list. Because you were, what did I say, 1455? Plus 155, plus 210, plus 5 points, because a Chemist is more points than a Navigator for some reason, plus 90. Yeah, you'd be. Oh, what have I done? I don't know. Doesn't sound right. I think I messed up. What's the chat saying? Okay. Okay. With the changes and stuff, Kron, you're going with your 20 Thunderers then, yeah? That's what you're playing? There's no
that's
changes
what I'm
to that?
planning to take to a next big event.
Okay.
As
Phil,
long as nothing changes in between now and January.
Okay. Well, January is when there's an FAQ. So
December or January, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. We've hidden this discussion behind an hour of Battlescroll stuff. No one's gonna hear this.
Well, I'm trying to bookend the Battlescroll stuff and saying, well, these are the changes. What are you playing now? What is the takeover for people? What are you going to play? So you're still playing. You want to play 20 Thunderers and Zilfin and just
the Kron special, yeah.
Yes. Okay, Phil, you like to swap things around a bit.
I'm playing, and I've literally just built this list. I have about 95 points to figure out, but I want to play Double Clad Thring with like a block of Fire Slayers to like hold objectives, and then just blast my opponent to smithereens. Like, I know I either miss out on the Battle Ram or Last Word if I took Zilfin, like one or the other. I could have both in Zilfin. But I was just, I don't know, I was just reminded of how much fun Thring was. And I think you could do a lot of damage with this list, and that would be really fun. So, yeah, I think that's what I would be on.
Okay, cool. I am still undecided, because I was hoping you guys would help me when I asked that last question. Because I had been playing dragons, and I've been toying with ideas on how to make an incarnate. I know, like, well, I'll just carry on playing dragons then. But dragons have been a little bit lackluster, I felt, since they've lost their hero phase move.
Yeah.
And so, do I go back to the Celestial Prime?
I've never enjoyed playing with C Prime, and I think it's just because I'm bad with C Prime. I really want to like Celestial Prime. I have a great one painted up in KO color, or my KO colors. But oh boy, am I terrible at using him. I that's the only thing I can think of because he's just been hot garbage every time I've played him.
Well, I think the trouble is he can whiff very easily. So you leave him off the table, and then you finally bring him on, and you charge him in, and then it's like, yeah, he's
and does 5 damage, yeah,
or less. So who knows? I mean, maybe Krohn, I have to try your gun haulers and sky wardens. Maybe that will work.
It's just like very maneuverable, and as long as you keep that, like, it stays usually behind the range band of the Ironclads. The Ironclads in that 12-18 range. This thing is at 24-inch, and you just use the gun hauler's 24-inch cannon and the Endrigger's 24-inch guns, and you just pop shots, just to add a little bit more damage, and grab any objectives that they leave unattended.
Just doing some, because I'm painting up my second Ironclad. It sat there for a couple of weeks where I've had family around and been off in foreign countries and stuff. Just doing
just gallivanting about.
Yes, just getting married twice. You know how it is. That's the thing. So 1545 plus 155 plus 210, and then I like playing a unit of 20 Archons. So that'd be.
I think that's what I do in my Thring list. Is I play 20, and then I'm at 1995, and I just say
I would be at 2,000 points on the nose, which fits, but you'd like a triumph. But you know, for those Arcanauts, you drop Gazilfin, drop 20 Arcanauts out, have +1 to wound, +1 to hit, +1 rend from the Admiral if you haven't removed a ward. They do a lot of work.
Yeah, they're good.
No triumph, they don't do as much work. So no. How important do you guys think?
Sorry.
I don't know what I said, but obviously the dog did not like it.
She's an orc player, so don't mind her.
The dog was like, "No triumph. I'm not standing for this. I'm off."
She's been quiet the entire time, so it must have been that.
Yeah, it must have been that. How important do you guys think a triumph is for KO?
I mean, probably less important than any other army because we have triumphs. Like,
we have
into our rules.
We got Aether Gold.
Yeah,
just Aether Gold.
It's nice. It's nice to one turn pop 2 at a time, but like it's not. It's definitely not a requirement. It's just it's nice to have.
Yeah. Yeah, they can always use their gold to have +1 to wound. True. Okay, maybe I'll try that. 2,000 points on the nose. Yeah, could do that. Guys, anything else you guys want to talk about? Because it feels like a very short show.
Well, I mean, it was FAQ stuff, right? Like, there's only so much we can draw out from it.
No.
I'm just excited to see KO in the next few months. I'm hoping we will have some sort of either update or even the new book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just keep list building. I think, I'm looking forward to cracking open a new book and like really delving. But I just crapped together a Thring list that I think is actually playable that I haven't really considered yet. So there's definitely still more to mine, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just fun hanging out and talking KO.
Yeah, we should do just one of those shows soon. I think like either a janky combos you can find in KO or a wild speculation. What do we think is going to be the new book? When do we think the new book's coming out? Kind of show.
Mm-hmm. It would be fun to come up with the dumbest way to play KO and just show our lists and like just have a contest that way.
The dumbest way, the worst.
The dumbest way to play KO, like just really janky stuff.
I made a list with all 3 named characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we'd have to draw straws and say, like, only the person that draws the short straw can have Brock.
Okay.
Because he's unique.
And then we play them on TTS and we live stream them for everyone to see how terrible they are.
Stefan,
do like a highlights reel show.
Yeah.
Stefan brought up an important point about triumphs, which is it's not just about getting the triumph for yourself; it's stopping your opponent having a triumph.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
It's a good point when your opponent remembers to use it. Which
Yeah.
I always have it back in my
"Oh, wait."
mind. I'm like, you're not using that triumph. I know you have, but I'm not
Do
going
I
to tell
re-
you.
The
Don't
worst
remind
thing
him, but
is, do you
You're
Like-
like, oh, I could get +1 to wound. You're like, yes, you can.
Yes, I
Ah.
wasn't not
Is
reminding
best
you that
sportsman
intentionally.
in the tournament prizes? Because then I will tell you.
Okay.
It is
Well-
going to be in our tournament.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think we got there.
Let us know in the comments if you think there's any rules or FAQ questions that still need resolving for KO. Got ideas for future shows, or if you want to see us come up with our worst lists or do the sort of list combos idea show, then let us know in the comments. If you like the show, please hit like, please subscribe for future KO content and Age of Sigmar content, and thanks for watching. And thanks Phil and Con for joining me.
Always a pleasure, anytime.
Thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.